In this video, you will be a virtual participant in a breakout session about differentiating reading and writing instruction through the use of primary source material. In this presentation, led by teacher Rhonda Clevenson, you will learn how to differentiate your instruction using documents, maps, photographs, and paintings to challenge and engage all students. This video will focus on using resources available on the Primary Sources Learning website, a site created by teachers to provide primary resources related to specific curriculum standards. In her presentation, Ms. Clevenson will use the story of Pocahontas to illustrate how primary source material and differentiated reading strategies can challenge students to read, think, and use what they know to explore a subject. First, Ms. Clevenson will demonstrate the use of an image concealed in a folded piece of paper as a hook activity to get the student's attention. With this activity, students react to different parts of an image they reveal as they unfold the paper. Next, she will show how to use a T-chart to pre-assess students' knowledge of the story of Pocahontas. Then she will differentiate her lesson by using two versions of the same story at different reading levels. And finally, she will use a technique called zoom in to analyze a work of art in a way that is both fun and challenging. Now let's join the session and Rhonda Clevenson.
I'd like to welcome you. I'm Rhonda Clevenson, and today we're going to be working with reading strategies for real-world documents. We're going to look at some digital primary sources that are available in the millions on the internet now, but how can we get students to read them, and how can we use differentiated instruction to support and scaffold that reading so students come away with some strong comprehension. So we're going to start out with Pocahontas, the Pocahontas story, English settlers and Powhatan in Jamestown, Virginia. Okay, and our understanding goal, our big idea that we're going to grapple with in this lesson is interaction leads to change. So we're going to be thinking about the idea interaction leads to change. And today, I'm going to invite you to do some research with me, and we're going to investigate this question: what can we learn about the interaction of English settlers and the Native Americans from the story of Pocahontas? So what can we learn about the interaction from the story of Pocahontas? The first thing, you're going to open up your folder, and deep inside on your left-hand side where the T-chart is, you're going to reach in there and you're going to pull out a little foldable book. And what you're going to do here, and then you can close your folder because you just need the foldable book. You're going to examine the image and answer the question on the foldable book. After finishing each question, you're going to unfold the book and do the same thing again. Look at the image and answer the question, and keep unfolding until your book is completely unfolded. Okay? Yes. Okay? Ready? And I won't give you time to totally finish, but go ahead and give it a taste of the foldable book. Okay, and what I'm going to have you do is stop answering and just go ahead and read the rest of your booklet for just a few seconds so you get a sense of what else is there from wherever you are. Take a look at everything that the students are being asked to do. Okay, and what I'd like you to do is to compare your book with an elbow partner and look at what's the same and what's different. You're going to compare your book, what's the same and what's different.
Well, see, this is interesting though. When you get the more information, I see a woman, I'm surprised. You know, like gives you a framework to build your response on. Yeah, which is interesting. Over what time period? Yeah, I thought it was just looked like a woman, but.
So you see it. Okay.
And I thought that was amazing because it reminded me of some of the pictures that I knew it was a picture of me.
Okay.
What do we notice about these books? What's the same and what's different?
there was more support on the one I've been given. There was a word bank and there was a structured frame that you just had to basically fill in the blanks.
Okay, good. So we saw some supports, and some of those supports included a word bank and a structured frame. What other kinds of supports do we see? Blanks, lines to put the pen to help with spatial, right? To know where to put the answer. What else do we see?
Also identify what part of the painting that you're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
So
Some
this
clues
just
to
happens
direct
to be the middle,
focus.
this is the bottom.
Good. Some clues to direct focus. What else?
Bold words.
Some things in bold, right? Attention drawers to key points, some bold words. Okay, these are good. These are all supports that we're going to use when you design a reading strategy later on. What other things are the same with these?
The picture's the same.
The picture's the same. The content's the same. Good. So what have we differentiated? The process, exactly. And the product is what? It's the same. Everybody's writing. Good. So in these books, we differentiated the process. And we use some specific supports, like a word bank, bold, focusing attention, lines, blanks, that sort of thing, to support learners who may not have as much. What are we trying to support? Background knowledge. That's exactly right. We're concerned about background knowledge because some students are going to come to this class maybe new to this country. Maybe they don't know the story of Pocahontas. Maybe they know the Disney version. And we're going to have to use this lesson. We're going to have to use this lesson to fix that, okay? Exactly. Before we go any further with the lesson, I do want to show you that this is our website called Primary Source Learning. And on Primary Source Learning, it's a website run by a handful of teachers in Northern Virginia. And we have a federal grant for it, so it's just free, and it's just all of us teachers. And we want you to participate and invite you to make a portfolio and use it with your students and have a great time. And let us know if you need anything. But the reason I want to draw your attention just for a moment is if you go to search the collection, and if we search Pocahontas, I just want to show you that everything that we do here is online, and you can download it. And the reason I say that while we're looking at the foldable book is it did take us quite a long time to get the boxes so that it folds easily. So if you don't happen to teach Pocahontas, but you do teach the Constitution or any other thing, right, just replace that's exactly the right thing. Yes, and in your book and on the front of your folder is this website. And this is the Pocahontas story, right? And under sources, when I go to these are all the primary sources we're going to use today. But when I go to required materials, you can see everything, including this teacher direction PowerPoint, is there. And so you can use these as models and then just insert the content that you actually do teach. But you would have our format, which not for nothing, we did go through like a ream of paper to make the foldable book. So you can see the novice with the lines, and then the advanced folded paper is the book, the grade level. Okay? So I just wanted to make sure you knew that that was all there and where it is. And so now back to our lesson. So now as we go back to our lesson, what I'd like you to do is let's look at, what's the role of that foldable book in the lesson? It's a hook. Very good. Okay, so now we've done our hook, and after our hook, I got to find out what you guys know. So if you have a blue folder, you have not only a T chart, but you also have one that's filled out with answers, so you can kind of cheat or not. If you have a red one, you just have the blank one. So you could pull out your T charts, and if everyone could take a moment, and you're going to jot down things that you already know about the Pocahontas story right here. And instead, I like for the question over here in this column, I like to have kids put down what questions they have. But in this case, the teacher's saying leave that blank until after we do some reading, and then we're going to add to the reading column. So you could do that either way with this T-chart. You could do what I know now, then we're going to do some reading and have the students revisit the T-chart. Or you could do what I know now and questions that I have. So go ahead and just jot down for me some things that you know. You've come to this workshop today knowing about the story of Pocahontas. And I'm going to stop you there. I didn't give you much time. What is the role of this T-chart in the lesson? It's my pre-assessment. That's exactly right. So if I don't collect it, who is the audience of the pre-assessment? The students themselves, right? And they're going to monitor their own learning, and they're learning from the reading. If I collect it, then in addition to the students, I've now become the audience as well, right? And I may act on it in giving you the next assignment, the reading assignment, which we did not do because we already knew the students' reading levels. So we had them be their own guide. And then how we use this T-chart is we invite the students throughout the lesson to come back to the chart, to add new things that they know. And in this lesson in particular, Pocahontas, when you know that students are coming with misconceptions from the Disney movie, right? We like to invite them to cross out things they no longer believe, right? This lesson has changed my thinking about this and why. So that's the purpose of the T-chart. So let's take a look at a reading assignment. So if you open your folder again, you'll see there's a reading assignment. And we'll pull that out. This reading assignment, each of you should have 2. So there's actually 4 reading assignments. There's 2 different stories. So if you have the red folder, you have 2 reading assignments. If you have the blue folder, you have 2 reading assignments. 2 versions of the same reading assignment. The blue folder has one story. The red folder has another story. Okay? So I'm going to invite you to either compare your 2 assignments. And if you want to try to do one at the level of challenge that you're most interested in doing this late in the afternoon, right? There's one that's going to be a little more supported and scaffolded and one a little more challenging. So I'm going to let you select. Okay, so what you're going to do is just follow the directions there. There's some reading, and there's some reading assignments to do while you're reading. There's some during reading. So go ahead and take a look at your 2 stories, read your story, and try to complete at least a portion of one of the assignments, okay? And then in a moment, I'm going to let you share your story with someone with a different color folder. So you definitely want to learn your story in the next few moments, okay? Okay, I'm going to stop you there, even though I know you might not totally be finished. And what you're going to do is you're going to find a partner, your elbow partner, who has a different color folder. And I'd like for you to retell your story to that partner, okay? After you've each had a chance to retell your story, I'd like for you to revisit our T-charts that we started a little earlier. And you're going to fill in this column of new things that you know after having read and retold the story to a partner. Okay? So one person's going to tell, the other person's going to listen, and then you'll change roles, listen and tell, and then revisit your T-chart. Okay?
She was the daughter of the most powerful Indian chief on the coast of Virginia, early 1600s. When they arrived, let's see.
She saved his life by throwing him to the sword between him and the executioners, but the historians question whether the story is true. They don't know that it actually happened. And then he was later adopted by Powhatan as a son.
Huh. Even if you haven't finished sharing your story, go ahead and revisit your T-chart and see if you can add something to your T-chart real quick. Okay, let's talk about this as a reading activity. Okay, we downloaded some reading from the internet from a place called America's Library. It's part of the Library of Congress's website. And we pasted it into a Word document and created this reading activity where we could add the questions and things into the Word document. How did using technology in that way, what opportunities did it afford us as a teacher? What did I get out of that?
You could make it fit to what you needed it to.
That's right. I could manipulate the content of the reading, right? I could manipulate the reading level. In this case, we chose two readings that are actually very similar in reading level, but I could have gone to another website and got a very different reading level if I wanted to. So it allowed me to control the reading level. What else did it allow me to do?
Use it how you wanted. You could break up the story.
Yeah, I could chunk it into bits that I wanted. I could have deleted other bits if I wanted, right?
You add the aids, like the word bank.
Yeah, I can add all kinds of aids. Once that story's digital, I can highlight the important words. I can put vocabulary words on the side that could be substituted in for more difficult words. I can add all kinds of supports. I can also add some challenges. If I wanted to make the reading a little more challenging, what might I add to it? For students who would be able to read it real quick and already know what it said, what would I add to make it more interesting to them?
More questions.
I could add more questions. What else could I add for them?
Trivia or additional information?
Good. I could add some trivia. More questions. I could add some trivia. I could add.
With what they've read, you can potentially have them add to the story.
I could ask them to add to the story. I could add some blanks and have them predict.
They could infer more facts.
They could infer.
Or maybe perhaps even just change the ending.
I could have them create a new ending.
Hundreds of things. They could like write letters to move from Pocahontas to John Smith.
And they could do it would be like an anchor activity, right? So if they finish early, there would be another activity to keep going. Letter writing.
What if scenarios?
Good. So the reason I say that, in the book that we saw before, right, we see the same strategies happening here. We see the word bank. What else do we see for supports? Blanks. We can do
Instructions on each page.
we have lots
Nobody
of
likes that.
directions and
Repetition.
focus, words. We see repetition.
The timeline.
We added a timeline. So it's interesting, both, I wish I had made this a Venn diagram, both the supports and the extensions, things can be added to increase students' understanding, which I think is really important. Just because we're adding supports doesn't mean that we're not trying to add things to increase their understanding. We're not always trying to make things simple. Actually, a timeline makes it complex. It sets it in a context for students who may not have a context when they come to it. So I always hate to think of supports being equal to simple, right? Just take that right on out, because supports should also add complexity for the student entering at that level, and we want our extensions to add complexity. It's all about complexity and making things interesting and growing and challenging. I'm wondering, what reading strategies did we use so far? What do we use in this activity here? What reading strategies are we using? We were using summarizing, which is a good one. We do in the elementary school and in the high school. What else were we using?
Identifying key terms.
Mm-hmm. What else were we using? You said it up here, we were chunking, right? And we really did a lot of chunking in the foldable book, right? Which you can do with a picture, you can do with a document, that same thing. In fact, it's very useful to chunk a picture for students. What did we just do with our partner? You did what? We did a think, pair, share, but you did something else. You did. What did you have to do to your story? You had to
Retell.
You did retell, right? Which is an important reading strategy. Right. Good. Excellent.
Ms. Clevenson will now take participants through an activity called Zoom In which parts of a painting are revealed one at a time.
I want to show you. So this is our big finish. We thought that this lesson would take us one day with fourth graders. And, we had like a fire drill and, every time we went out to do it, something crazy happened. So I tell you the truth, I don't know how long it would take, but we never did it in a day. But this was our big finish to the first day. And I want you to take a look at this one. We're going to do this together, and we're going to do it rather quickly just so you can kind of see the technique. And then we're going to think about what kind of reading strategies and what this tells us about students reading, because this is not a document. Okay? So again, we're looking at our research question. What can we learn about the interactions between the English settlers and the Native Americans from the story of Pocahontas? And this time we're going to ask the students to examine a secondary clue carefully. We're going to ask them to describe what they see, ask questions, and make connections to build your thinking about how interaction may lead to change. And I wanted to show you the idea of putting an understanding goal or a big idea in the directions, right? I always know it's a useful, tomorrow Carol will talk more about a quality curriculum and essential questions and understanding goals. And I always know it's a useful one if I can embed it in directions that I say to students, right? Because if I'm using it, chances are they're going to be using it. And if they're using the understanding goal, it's working for them. They can assess against it. They can add things to it. It's useful. It's not just posted in the classroom or in a curriculum guide. It should be usable. So you always know you have a good one if you can embed it in directions and it makes sense and it doesn't seem awkward. So I think interaction may lead to change is a good goal. Okay, let's a shout out. What do you see there? Teepee, good. What else?
People in front.
Good. More? I see blue.
It's in a forest.
Trees.
Looks dark.
Looks
Good.
dark.
Yeah. Nighttime maybe. Now what do we see?
Feathers.
Feathers, good.
Maybe royal.
Jewelry.
Wow.
Maybe, or
Something very formal.
yes.
What are the people doing?
They're watching something.
Watching.
Yeah, I think so.
Where might this be taking place?
It's some type of ceremony.
What makes you say that?
It was like solemn, purposeful.
Oh. Now what do we see?
There's somebody else
Running
in the
away.
foreground. Somebody dancing.
Who might these people be?
Americans
What makes you say that?
dress, where they live.
Oh. Uh-oh. What new objects do we see now?
Something being held.
Some type of symbol.
Now what might be happening? What makes you say that?
Being held up over, it looks like it's being held up over somebody else.
And then it would reword the people in the foreground, so like they're being attacked.
So maybe they've seen it
Yeah.
before. Okay, uh-oh. Okay, now can we make a hypothesis about what's happening in this image?
I think
Pocahontas is jumping in front of John Smith.
Oh.
she's trying to prevent something from being
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, and there it is. There's our caption from the Library of Congress, Pocahontas saving the life of Captain John Smith. And it was painted in 1870.
Those people on the right really do look remarkably unconcerned. They all look remarkably
What does knowing the title and the date, what might that tell us?
Well, the date tells us that it's probably not very accurate because it's a long time, 150 years later.
Yeah, at least 200, almost. Yeah, 200 years later.
From the story I had, part of it said the story is questioned.
Right, so the
seeing
story.
the date, it makes that connection right back to the reading.
Right, so it connects back to our reading that we don't even know that this story actually ever happened, and yet, more than 200 years later, painters are painting the story. I want to show you, this is primary source learning, and it's right here on the front of your folder. And then when you Google Pocahontas, you'll find everything. But I want to show you the zoom in. is something that people just love. So I want to show you just a couple of things quickly on our website before you make something for yourself. Now the zoom in, teachers have loved so much that I think I have hundreds of them on my website. The science ones are spectacular. Science teachers, chemistry and cartoons is one of my favorites. If you know a chemistry teacher, the kids look at political cartoons, and if the artist knew anything about science, you know, what would be wrong? I do want to show you, were these reading strategies helpful? And these cards, yes, right? We spent a long time trying to find reading strategies that went well with source documents and that also lend themselves to adding supports and extensions. And we didn't select every reading strategy in the world. We actually, 12 of us spent several months looking at them and trying them out with kids. And so I do want to show you under activity collections, we do have a chart of these so that you can remember them, and it's called reading strategies, so it's pretty easy to remember. If you think about collections of activities, reading strategies, and when you click on here, what you will find is we took large-scale themes, like this is for the young kids, for someone's little guys. Who teaches little guys in here? Yeah, okay, yeah. So we have cooperation, patterns, and tradition. And then we took documents that we felt might be useful for teaching those big ideas. And look at what's underneath them are the reading strategies, right? And when you click on the reading strategy, for example, opinion proof, it will come up and it'll tell you what that strategy is. And then underneath it, if we have an example of it, then you can click on the learning experience. It'll take you to a document that teachers have used with that strategy. And I'm working on getting all the learning experiences linked, so there's just a few linked right now. And so that is, just so you know, it's under primary source learning, and then activity collections, and then reading strategies. Okay? So that's what we have started to develop. So if you develop more things that we can add to our website, email them to me. The email is on the website, Primary Source Learning. It comes to me, and I'll add your stuff. It'll be great. You can share with everybody else. Right. Excellent. Well, I'd like to wish you the very best in reading challenging documents with your students, and I hope that these reading strategies will be useful to you.
We invite you to visit the Primary Source Learning website at www.primarysourcelearning.org. You can use the free resources available on the site, or create your own and share them with teachers worldwide. It is an easy and fun way to differentiate your literacy instruction or enhance any other subject area.